Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. It is July 23rd, 2019. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have some new Planet X news. And I'm going to be showing you some never before seen Planet X photographs I've had in my database going back many, many years. And this will actually take us back to one of the best discoveries that I've ever seen. We're going to be going back to 2007 once again. A lot of you have seen the video footage of this object orbiting the sun, and that was captured on the stereo Core 2 Stereo B coronagraph space satellite that views the sun. We're also going to be going over some mysteries of the planet Mercury. You know, for a very, 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 very long time, I've had a lot of doubts, a lot of questions about this little planet, Mercury. And just all of a sudden, once again, all of these questions just started to resonate within my mind for some reason. You know, I guess that's just how my mind works. Things just pop into my head in very, very, how could I phrase this? But it just pops into my head in detail. And it kind of motivates me to look into things. And if any of you have been with me for quite a long time, you know I question everything. I'm very analytical. And when I throw myself into something, I throw myself into something. We're also going to be talking about this California Long Valley caldera, as you see on your screen in my thumbnail. This very, very large magma chamber, 240 cubic miles of lava, this magma chamber underneath California. We're also going to be talking about this so-called hypothetical planet Vulcan. And planet Vulcan was supposed to be inside of the orbit of Mercury. And this goes back well into the, I believe, the early to mid 1800s. And still today, there are people that investigate planet Vulcan. I've actually read about it many, many years ago. The first time I picked up on literature on Vulcan was back when I was in college, and that was right at the time when I was actually viewing a lot of data and information and articles related to this mysterious planet X. We're also going to be talking about the magnetosphere disruptions. They continue. I've posted some information in our Planet X News group pertaining to some of the reasons why this is happening. And it's not all based on this solar wind either. We have a lot of issues, folks. I mean, you all know. I'm sure the majority of you are all over social media between Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And I'm sure each and every one of you get a daily dose of, all kinds of news. I'm going to go ahead and just pull up the live stream here real quick. And I'm sorry that we have to have this live stream at 5 a.m. in the morning. But, once again, it would be great if YouTube, the boob tube, would allow me to upload a damn video, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 10-minute video, without it taking 3 hours. They've been doing that to me since, probably the beginning of 2017. It's been just nonstop. I have super high speed internet here in my home office, and I never have a problem uploading videos anywhere else, even onto to Facebook. But it just seems if I upload a video, the little loading bar, it will say 6 minutes. 7 minutes. Okay, I usually do all of my videos in a higher definition, but even at a regular 720p, that little counter, that little bar, it says, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Okay, I turn my head, I look back to my computer screen. It now says 45 minutes. Then right in front of my eyes, it changes to an hour and 30 minutes. Then it changes to 2 hours and 54 minutes. That's ridiculous. And if I stop the upload, cancel it, and try to re-upload the short video, it does the same thing. So it kind of forces me to do a live stream or live stream any short video. I can't even premiere anything anymore on Planet X News because they've basically put this strangling hold on my YouTube channel. Like I said, folks, they've been doing this for quite some time. I'm kind of used to it, but it just goes to show you that they are really, really trying to prevent me, and probably a lot of others, from coming in contact with each and every one of you. They know this is the platform that I use the most, and there's not much I could do about it. There's no way that I could fight a giant like Google and YouTube or even Facebook. I guess they just want to keep everybody, kind of dumbed down and in the dark. It's sad. It's just the way that humanity is playing out now. But these photographs that I have from 2007, they're pretty amazing. And I've converted all of them to a higher definition so we could see things a little more clearly. But even without converting them to a higher definition, they were still clear as a bell. I'm going to also show you the video footage from 2007 in case any of you have never seen it before. This is going to answer a lot of questions. I know that there are still a lot of people out there that are hung up on the old story of Nibiru. I still have people come at me each and every day telling me that I'm wrong about Nibiru. And, I'm wrong about Nemesis, and, basically they're just telling me I'm wrong. However, they fail to have watched all 2060, or I have over 2,000 videos of evidence. But I guess they have failed to go through all of that data before telling me that I'm wrong about what I present. And folks, I just don't shoot from the hip and throw anything out there. I thoroughly investigate everything in complete detail. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. Once again, look, I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn, but whenever we get down to brass tacks, here's the bottom line. You show me evidence. Don't just give me that, oh, you're wrong. I'm not going to buy that. If you want to prove me to be wrong, then you show me. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and throw other people under the bus again, because I know some of you like to see me do that and some of you don't like me to do that. But the fact of the matter is, once again, there's a lot of clouded information out there. There's a lot of stories out there. A lot of you have already been brainwashed with a lot of this material. There's nothing I could do about it. So all I'm going to do for now on, I'm going to just simply present my information, my findings, my photographs, my observational evidence, and then you guys can go with it as you please. You can believe it, you can disbelieve it, but don't tell me that I'm wrong. I've been doing this research now for more than 20 years. I've thrown my whole life pretty much down the damn drain to prove this subject matter. And, as I read further into the past, into past history, such as the information revolving around planet Vulcan, this mysterious or mythological, again, planet Vulcan. I've given that project over to Dr. Albers, and Dr. Albers was digging into this planet Vulcan. I know quite a bit about it because I've investigated it several times. And it is a very, very mysterious story. But even going back into this supposed discovery or observation of this planet Vulcan, which was named by an astronomer back in the mid-1800s, I mean, he was basically ostracized for quite a long time. Anything that goes against mainstream science or mainstream astronomy, you will get very, very, very serious backlash. I guess whoever the hell is in charge, whoever the hell is in charge of the Earth's information source, maybe they don't want us to really know the truth. I'm going to expose you to some very, very serious questions and observations pertaining to the little planet Mercury. We could even have big questions about our own moon. If you really, really start to think about things, think about the diameter, the published diameter of these planets. Mercury, very, very small planet. The moon, it's pretty small. But yet, when we look up in the sky, it almost looks like you could reach out and touch it, but it's supposed to be 238,000 miles away from Earth. Just recently, this past weekend, we had the 50th anniversary of the Apollo landings on the moon. Oh boy, all of the conspiracy theorists came out, and I have to say that there is still a lot of credible information that maybe the moon landings were faked. Who knows? But anytime you come up with a so-called conspiracy, you get hammered, even if you have the best credible evidence. It just seems like the gatekeepers, they really don't want you to know the truth. They want to keep the human species just pretty well dumbed down. Whenever you have somebody dumbed down like that, they're easily controlled. And that's a sad thing. And there are a lot of people out there now, call them conspiracy theorists, call them whatever you want. Some people do their homework. Some people don't. Some people take a story that they find on the internet and they just run with it. That's irresponsible, if you ask me. A lot of people say that they investigate matters, and they really don't. It just sounds good during their live stream. I recently ran across a video live stream that was just all pertaining to these earthquakes in California. And this guy, just an ordinary guy, telling people in his video that he actually spoke with people from the USGS and they told him the truth. That's a lie. Ask Dutch if the USGS personnel would ever actually tell you the truth, especially if it pertained to a massive magma chamber in California that was very, very unstable. Do you think that the personnel at the USGS would really tell an everyday, run-of-the-mill Joe the truth about maybe what they were doing out there in this area? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So again, folks, you have to really take all of the information that's out there with more than just one grain of salt. You might want to tip the salt shaker completely over onto your tongue. Because, people will sensationalize anything nowadays just to get YouTube views or Facebook followers or Instagram views or whatever. The truth is very, very hard to come by. If you don't rip, tear, and gouge to get to the truth, if you don't do it yourself, you really can't rely on anybody else. There's no doubt the Earth is in peril right now. Let's just put it that way. Our weather is going to continue to get worse. Yes, volcanic eruptions are going to get worse. Earthquakes are going to get worse. Things happening within our oceans are steadily getting worse. How much time do we have? That's a roll of the dice. Anything can happen at any time. My advice to each and every one of you, don't live in fear. Live your life. How's that one song by Prince go? Party like it's 1999? That's my advice to you. Utilize your life in all the right ways. Be happy. Go and do what you want to do. But use your head. As my grandfather used to say, hey boy, it's common sense. So using common sense is also a big, big help. I know a lot of you guys love to follow other YouTubers, and there are people out there that do have very, very good information. But please, once again, don't leave me comments and send me emails and tell me that I'm wrong about this and I'm wrong about that. Because I've invested entirely too much of my time and my life into these research subjects. I do an extensive amount of reading, more than you can imagine. I haven't done a live stream in a couple of days. A few videos on what's been happening with some fires and just a few other things. I've just been really enthralled in some of these topics, these mysteries of Mercury and this Vulcan. And you guys can look this up. Read about it yourself. I would advise all of you to read. Look up this information on planet Vulcan. Read the stories. Now, there will be articles that will debunk the theory. And the whole theory of planet Vulcan, ooh, yeah, when was it? This goes back into Einstein's time. Because of Einstein's theory of relativity, ooh, well, that just debunked the existence of this small planet Vulcan. I particularly don't agree with Einstein's theory of relativity, which is, space is a fabric. You can bend it. It's like a fabric, like a blanket. Stretch it out, place a heavy ball in the center, and the ball kind of sinks. That's the fabric of space. Einstein's theory of relativity. But back in that time, Einstein was a superstar, a worldwide superstar. So whatever he said was golden. And that totally trashed the theory of Vulcan. But Vulcan was actually observed, supposedly, by many astronomers going back to this era in the late 1800s and moving into the early 1900s. Famous people, credible people, astronomers. And then Einstein trashed them all with his famous theory of relativity. So Mercury is a mystery. We don't hear much about it. But I'm going to show you some things that really, really put a doubt on what we're being taught or what we were taught. Just basic observations, and you don't have to be an Einstein to cast this doubt. It's blown my mind over the last couple of days. I'm very serious. It's really, really jacked me up. And the things that I threw at Dr. Albers yesterday and the day before had her eyes wide open. And your mind expands and you really, really start to question everything. That's another good piece of advice that I could give all of you, is to question everything. Look, you could do it in a polite way, or you could be an asshole like me and, be nasty about it. But there are some mysteries out there, folks. Big time. But anyways, I know I'm probably boring some of you. I'm going to show you these photographs from 2007. You make your own judgment calls. Let me get out of this thumbnail. Let me reduce my big head here. Put my big head up here in the corner. Oh, we did also have another Planet X discovery. That's probably going to blow your mind too. Maybe we should look at that first. So what you see on your screen right now, this is the highest resolution. This was coming from a CME just the other day. I showed it to all of you on the cactus coronagraph. And what happens, folks, is after an event like this on the sun, it does take a couple of days for the data to appear, whether it be on HelioViewer or any of the coronagraph websites. I can't get the information immediately, okay? Some spotty information is there, but it takes a couple of days for things to, propagate. and I always go back and I always double check things. So on the 19th, this small, very, very small, moderate coronal mass ejection occurred. Remember my timeline that I've outlined for all of you in this 28-day orbit. People still just don't get it. I'm not going to go into all of that right now, but this object is orbiting our sun very tightly in a 28-day orbit. No, the sun's not going to burn it up. No, the sun is not going to swallow it. Okay? If you learn about planetary and orbital dynamics, the same goes with Mercury. People have asked me, oh, well, why doesn't Mercury fall into the sun? Well, in all actuality, as the little planet Mercury orbits the sun, it is actually falling towards the sun, but because of its motion, its forward motion, it misses the sun and it slingshots around in its orbit. If any planet would stop rotating and stop orbiting the sun, well, yeah, the sun's gravity would eventually suck it right in. But because of planetary motion and orbital motion, that doesn't happen. So we've answered that question. Can planetary objects, stellar cores, other stars, can they get really, really close to another star? The answer is yes. Don't take my word for it. You can go do some homework. Astrophysicists and astronomers and, the European Space Agency and NASA and with the Hubble telescope and the whole 9 yards, they have now seen all of this. They've seen stars so close to each other, orbiting so fast. They've seen brown dwarfs orbiting other stars. The brown dwarfs have other planetoids, moons, whatever you want to call them. They've discovered that brown dwarfs have weather. Yeah, weather like Jupiter. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot of information out there, and things are still coming in. So this object appeared as this coronal mass ejection lit up the sun. Again, it was very small. It took me a couple of days to wait for the data to get there. And once I was able to slow it down on the helio viewer, I said to myself, holy hell, look at that. Excuse me. It all falls right within that timeline. I've mentioned the timeline many times before. I know exactly when I'm going to be able to get a photograph of this object. I've proven it time and time again. Now let's just go back and let's take a calendar month, okay? In the calendar month, the first 9 days of every month, this object is not going to be in Earth's view. No matter what. No matter if it's from the stereo spacecraft, which is way off to the left of the Earth. We're not going to capture it on the LASCO-SOHO coronagraph. And we're not going to capture it anywhere else. Not on any of the coronagraphs, not on any spacecraft out there. Because of its positioning and its tight orbit, it falls below the ecliptic. So that means it goes down past us. Let's just say it goes south, okay? From the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, we're not going to see it. As this object starts to come back up in its real tight eccentric and elliptical orbit. Once it breaks the plane of the ecliptic, it's usually around, it could be between the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Okay? Then we lose it again. And we're not going to see it again until the last couple of days of the month. And then we lose sight of it again. And then it's going to make its way back down. So all of my captures throughout the last several years, like I said, I've put all of this into a journal format, and I ended up loading all of it into my calendar in my computer. And that's the way that I really started to analyze the observational evidence. Not just my opinions, not just my my thoughts or my theory, or it's not even a hypothesis. It's becoming fact, just a plain fact. Also the positioning according to these dates on one calendar month, okay? So it's not a 3,600-year orbit. It's not some, I don't know, whatever Gil Broussard has been saying once again, some 350 or 250-year whatever. This object is not coming in. Folks, come on, man. See, this is where I get frustrated, because I've been showing people the evidence for years. But yet people still persist in moving in some opposite direction away from the observational truth. Folks, what do you think I do? You think I draw these pictures up with crayons? You can go look at it for yourself. I always show you and tell you where I got the evidence. You can go look at it for yourself. So there should be no question about this object, where it's at, and where it has been for many years. Many years. I don't know where some of these other people get their information. Okay? Don't question me. Question them. I show you real evidence, observational evidence that you can see with your eyes. I don't have some imaginary poster up on the screen that some, talented artist drew up as a diagram. I'm showing you the real deal. So, if we've been observing this object since 2007, how in the hell is it on a 3,600-year orbit coming in? How is it now arriving over the next 250 years? I don't know where these people come up with this crap, other than maybe it's just complete disinformation to throw all of you off. See, this is where I get frustrated. And yeah, I get mad, because I show you the proof, and then you tell me, oh, well, Gil Broussard said this. Oh, and Steve Olson said this and that. But do they show you any evidence? No, they don't. They don't show you anything. You know, I better slow down because I'm starting to get pissed. People want to know why all of this is happening to the earth. They want to know why the weather has changed so drastically. They want to know why we are having the increase in seismic activity and volcanic activity. They want to know why the fish are dying. Sea mammals, whales, dolphins, washing up on shore, dying. They want to know why temperatures are rising to the point where it's unbearable. It's on your screen. That's your answer. Right there. There's a lot of science, a ton of science behind all of this, folks. It's not easy. It's not easy to explain. It's not easy to learn. It takes years and years and years. It's taken me all of this time. That's your answer. The stress that is being placed on our planet, it is being induced by what is happening out there in the inner solar system with our sun and that object that you see on your screen. The heavy fluctuations and compressions that all of you have been posting all over social media of the magnetopause and the solar wind and the magnetosphere models. Probably maybe 90, 75, 90% of you really don't even understand what you're really looking at and what's causing it. But you're learning. And that's good. That's good. Not putting anybody down, but that's good. You guys are learning how to use the tools. You're learning how to make the observations. That's just great. Keep on doing it. Flood social media with it. More and more people will start to wake the hell up. But these problems, this is like a 1, 2, 3 punch that the earth is getting. And a lot of us won't live to really see all of this play out. If you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you probably won't live to see this play out. Unless you live to be 100 or more. Your kids, young adults, people in their early 20s, early 30s, teenagers, little kids, they're going to be the ones who grow up in a world that will be absolutely nothing like what we grew up in. That's sad. That worries me. But there's nothing that any of us can do about it. But you do have to take that time, educate yourself. Start educating these little snowflakes and these little millennials. They need to remove their heads out of their rectum and start paying attention to what's truly happening. But this capture was just absolutely phenomenal. Now, the other day, I'm not going to mention any names, although I would like to, but I had a very well-known, prominent YouTube scientist come after me, and we had some words, some email conversations back and forth. Nothing that I started. Haha, you folks probably thought I started it, didn't you? Because you all think I'm a troublemaker. Hey, listen, folks, sometimes you got to start a fire under somebody's ass to get results, and I'm good at that. But anyways, we had some words back and forth. He insulted me. I insulted him back 100-fold. But I got my point across. And that was that. I sent him over some observational evidence. I asked, okay, tell me. Tell me the truth. Don't give me some scientific mumbo-jumbo. Tell me the truth. And that was that. That's it. See, here's the thing, folks. We all tend to believe people in authority positions. So, as a kid, you always think of your teacher as an authority figure. A policeman, authority figure. Politicians, authority figures. So, we all grow up. Well, your parents, authority figures. But these people are all responsible for teaching us at very, very early levels in life, growing up. So when they plant those seeds into our minds, they tend to stick and they tend to grow. But you never question things. See, I've always questioned things. I don't know what it is. I used to piss my mother off to high hell because I questioned everything. I used to piss my teachers off because I used to question everything. I had one history teacher said one day, "Well, Scott, since you know it all, would you like to get up and teach the class?" I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Cotton, I would love to." And he took me up on it. And I spent the next 40 minutes teaching the class about the Civil War because I was a history buff. And I read a lot of things about the Civil War that wasn't in that little academic textbook. So, when a scientist tells you something because of his authority, you believe it, or you tend to believe it, or you take what he is saying as gospel. Einstein. Everything Einstein said, ooh, big scientist superstar. Smart. Smarter than just about anybody on the planet. So yeah, anything he said, we had to take it like it was the gospel. We can't do that. We must question everything. And yeah, maybe this is bad advice, but question authority. Just like you do when a cop pulls you over. What's the first thing you say? "Hey man, why are you pulling me over? Hey man, what did I do?" You're questioning that authority. So when scientists are out there and they're telling you that, oh, Planet X doesn't exist. Oh, that mystery planet Vulcan, oh, it doesn't exist. Oh, the Earth is not in peril. That's not happening. But yet, We see these massive torrential downpours of rain flooding worldwide, more people getting struck and killed by lightning than ever before, earthquakes ripping the earth apart, volcanoes blasting ash 50,000 feet in the air. Oh, okay, Mr. Scientist. You say there's nothing wrong? That all of this is just natural. Oh, okay, Mr. Scientist. I'll bury my head in my ass and I won't ask any more questions. I hope you all see my point. So, here we are. People still continue to question the observational evidence, even though they can see it with their own eyes and they can go and find it themselves. Okay, to each their own. So now that you've all seen this photograph that was dated from the 19th of July, just a few days ago, what did I tell you about the orbital time period on the calendar? We'll get the second viewing of this object during the latter part of the middle of the month. Well, what would you consider to be the 19th, the latter part of the middle of the month? Probably within the next 5 days. Within the next 5 to 7 days, we might get lucky and catch one more view of this object before it dips back behind the sun and starts to make its downward motion. I've all shown you the evidence of that object zipping downward through the sun's corona in 2017. Spectacular capture. Showed that video again last week or the week before. People were telling me, oh, that's Mercury. Oh, okay. You see how big it was? Do you even know how big Mercury is? Do you know the diameter of Mercury? Did you ever see Mercury up against the sun? Look, folks, I'm not criticizing anybody. You all know how my attitude is. You know how my personality is. So, yeah, maybe I kind of thought that was a dumb question. Because we all know Mercury is just a little teeny tiny speck out there compared to the sun. The sun being 864,000 miles in diameter, and Mercury only being approximately a little over 3,000 miles in diameter. That's close to 290 times difference in size. And then people failed to understand how far Mercury is away from the sun. Google it. It's approximately pretty close to, 36 million miles. Mercury is 36 million miles away from the sun. So how in the hell could it be passing that close within the sun's corona? Wow, Scott, you're a freaking genius. Anyways, let's get out of here. Let's jump into these pictures. While we're on the subject of Mercury real quick, just let me throw this in there. You see that little teeny tiny speck on your screen right there? This is a H-alpha picture, photograph, telescopic view of the sun. You see up in the upper left that's labeled sunspot. You see how big that sunspot is? Some sunspots could be massive. Massive. Tens of thousands of miles across. You see right below you in the middle of your screen where it says Mercury. That was during one of Mercury's 13 transits in a century, because Mercury only transits in front of the sun in our view 13 times every 100 years. So within 100 years, Mercury transits across the sun, and we can see it. Mercury has a really weird orbit also. But there you go. So you see that little puny little dot compared to the sunspot and compared to the sun. But I'm going to show you some things that old NASA boys out there put some pictures out there that I have to question. Because the size of the object and the distance from which Mercury is supposed to be, they don't add up. So if an object is 3,000 miles in diameter and 36 million miles away from the sun, how in the hell can it look so big? Oh, Scott, it's an optical illusion. Oh, it's because of the Earth's atmosphere. Oh my God. I don't know about all you, but I don't buy that. Anyways, a lot of mysteries about Mercury. We'll get into that in a bit. I want to show you these photographs from 2007. And you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay. You know, in 2007, there was a lot going on. And there was a New York Times journalist. She actually still works for the New York Times. She's an investigative journalist. Somehow she was dropped some information. Still to this day, she doesn't know who it is. But they had dropped some info on her about a discovery that they made out there by the sun. Oh, and she went with it too. Big story, man. And they showed her how to access the information. A lot of the information was recorded. Photographs were taken. And then she published a lot of it. It got removed, and she was, well, basically flat out threatened that she needs to stop disclosing this information and just stop it. She didn't take that too well, and she took it a few steps further for a short time period. But then I guess the heat got too much, and she stopped. In 2016, I had an anonymous person get in contact with me, and they disclosed a lot of this to me. They had caught my YouTube channel. They had seen the evidence that I was showing, and they just couldn't hold back. They wanted me to have this data. They wanted me to show it and pursue it. And I did just that. And boy, did it get me in trouble. Whew. Man, for like almost 2 years, I had every scumbag, troll, debunker coming after me like you wouldn't believe. And they still do. I don't care. As you could see on the date on this coronagraph, this was the stereo core 2, stereo A, meaning ahead. This was back in 2007. on November 4th at 22:52 UTC time. So if that object was in that position in November of 2007, how in the hell is it on a 3,600-year orbit? And how can Gil Broussard explain his theory? See, the reason why I'm mentioning Gil so much is because people have been, inboxing me and emailing me because Gil has risen back up out of the depths of his disappearance back in late 2017 when him and David Meade, their whole date setting failed. So usually when that happens, people quietly shut their mouth and they disappear. They let time heal the wounds and the deception. And then they come rising back up with a completely new concept. More disinformation. But no facts. Fancy posters, but no facts. Nothing to show you. So this is why I've always been critical of the Nibiru mystery. I investigated it. I researched it. I've read every bit of Zecharia Sitchin's information. Read every single one of his books. All of that has nothing to do with what you see on your screen. So, let's get a close-up of it. This, once again, same picture, just close-up, high resolution. This object was, again, passing by. It gets very, very close to the sun. It creates disruptions on the sun. I believe that their magnetic fields interact so violently that this object has the ability to literally pull plasma from the sun's surface, from the sun's outer atmosphere, as let's just call it that. So, whenever you go, for maybe the guys out there and maybe some ladies, whenever you go to jump your battery in your car, maybe your battery died, and, you hook the battery up to the car that has the good battery, and you put the little two contacts together and you get that psh, you get that crazy spark. That's because you're putting a negative and a positive together. Psh. The sun is charged. That object is highly charged. That object is spewing massive amounts of electrons through space. They are now interacting with the Earth's magnetosphere. Why do we see those compressions on the Earth's magnetic field? It's not coming from the solar wind. The solar wind has been gentle, almost non-existent. But yet, if you monitor electron flux, you'll see that the electron flux has consistently been elevated. Increase in cosmic rays. Okay, where do cosmic rays come? Cosmic rays can come from deep space. Cosmic rays can come from the sun. But who is to say that cosmic rays are also being produced by this object? You see my point here, folks. Once again, the Earth is taking this 1, 2, 3 punch. It's being hammered from all ends. Because we're moving into this solar minimum, things are going to get much, much worse. Whereas the Earth's magnetic field is going to weaken and weaken and weaken. So that means this heavier flow of charged particles that come from the sun and probably this object, they're going to impact the detectors on these spacecraft, such as the ACE spacecraft, where a lot of that data comes from on the magnetopause models. Okay? The ACE spacecraft can't tell you if those particles are coming from the sun or another source. It just can't. Do you understand me? It can't distinguish the heavily charged particles from the sun and this stellar core object. It just knows that the detectors on the craft are being just bombarded with this electron flux. Will that set the magnetosphere models off? Meaning, will you see those fluctuations within the models? Yes, that's what they do. That's what they're for. A particular individual out there, again, I'm not going to drop no names, but a particular individual stated not too long ago that you really can't trust this and you really can't trust that and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. If you could not trust the data, why do you use it? Why do you talk about it? Maybe you're not getting enough attention. I was told that my subscribers, the people that watch Planet X News, have questions. They looked to this YouTube scientist to maybe answer some of those questions. And it just so happened to be they asked the questions in the comment section under his videos. Well, that pissed him off. Because I guess it drew the attention away from his videos. Whatever. I can't control that. I can't control what videos you folks watch and the questions that you may ask and the comments that you may leave. So now we know. Now we know what is occurring. It's pretty cut and dry. Pretty easy to understand. I hope I explained it well enough. This is just a little bit of a brighter view of this object. I want to point something out that's really mysteriously looking, is this really wild looking swirl that this object got encapsulated with as this CME impacted it. Never seen that before. I've had these photographs, folks, for a long time. I've just never bothered to show them to people. For a long period of time. I mean, you guys are still caught up in, Nibiru and Nemesis and some of this junk that Sam Hoffman puts out there about ought to and me too and you too and all these freaking planets that are up in the clouds? Why waste my time? That guy shows you drawings with crayons. And people bow down. Oh, Sam Hoffman. Oh, you're the best. I love your crayon drawings. Holy shit, they look like you're in 3rd grade. Oh, wait a minute. I think I said I wasn't going to be real critical of people. Sorry. Sometimes I just can't help myself. Anywho, let's get back to credible information. Again, this is just another view of this object on the Core 2 coronagraph in 2007. Again, no 3,600-year orbit. Not arriving in 200, 300, or 400, or 500 years. It's already here. It's been here for a long, long time. I can't say that it's been here before 2007. I won't say that because I don't have the proof. I don't have the observational evidence to prove that. See, folks, a lot of other boob tubers, they'll just tell you whatever you want to hear. Okay? I'm not going to baby you folks like that. I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear. Maybe you dislike me for that. Maybe you don't like the fact that I'm not going to tell you that the world's coming to an end. Doomsday apocalypse is around the corner. Repent! Because the earth is a shaking and a quaking. Oh, God. Yeah, the earth is a shaking and a quaking. Anyways, let's get a little zoom in here. You let that picture sink in a little bit. I mean, that's pretty damn good resolution for 2007. And when the photographs were sent to me, they were much worse. Took a lot of work to bring out the definition. And what do you have to say about that? See, folks, this is the main reason. See, the things that you see on the screen, when you come to Planet X News, when you come to this YouTube channel, you see hardcore evidence. You see the proof. That's why they don't want you here. Could you imagine? Let your mind run wild right now. Could you imagine if they allowed me to enter a stadium that seats 75,000 people, and they allowed me to show these photographs on the Jumbotron, and they gave me a stage and a microphone, and they gave me your undivided attention? What do you think would happen? Well, maybe 30% of the people in the audience would probably shit their pants. Mainstream media would be up my rectum like a suppository. And the government would probably try to kill me. Why? Because they don't want you to know the real truth about our existence, who we are as human beings. They don't want you to have the full understanding of our planet, our moon, our solar system, our sun. Does that make sense? Yeah. I thought so. Same picture, a little bit different color. I'll just leave that in there with you. This one's just a little bit blurry, little bit. But it's not highly pixelated like it was whenever I received these photographs. And again, nobody has ever seen these photographs, folks. You guys are the first people. You are the first people to see these photographs from 2007. So this blows all the theories of all of the Planet X heavyweights. I had somebody send me an email criticizing me and telling me that I couldn't walk in the footsteps of the real Planet X heavyweights, the real researchers. Okay, I'll go head to head with any one of them any day of the week. Just give me a date and a time. I'll be there. You bring your observational evidence. I'll bring mine. And then you let the people decide. But see, folks, this isn't some damn game. This isn't some game show on TV. This is real life. So if the people that you are following on the boob tube and face puke, if they're not showing you hardcore scientific observational evidence, then what are you doing there? What are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're simply clouding your mind, and you're getting further and further and further away from the truth and the science. And then you don't know which way to go. Oh, do I believe what he's saying, or do I believe what he's saying? Oh, but he's got some pretty good posters. But I don't know, man. That guy over there, Planet X News, boy, he's got some pretty good pictures. But I don't know. I kind of like that guy over there with the posters. But I don't like that guy from Planet X News because he's cocky. He's a bully. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if I have to, I will bully my way to get to the truth. Like me, love me, hate me, it is what it is. But anyways, I thought that the photographs, these captures, were just absolutely intense looking at these. And I was very, very thankful to this lady. You know, we still converse from time to time, dropping a few emails here and there. She's going to be retiring next year from her long career. And, hey, you never know. Someone like her, she may just sit down and write a book. And I may help her. I may help her. So what we have here is pretty much, conclusive proof that this object was here We observed it as far back as 2007. That is a fact, and I like to deal in facts. This is the actual raw image, and this object again created this coronal mass ejection on the sun. And whenever these coronal mass ejections occur, it literally lights this object up. Now, this so-called well-to-do YouTube scientist said to me in his email, you know what, I would bring the emails up and let you guys read everything, but, you know, I don't want anybody going back to his YouTube channel and harassing him. Because I really hate to listen to people cry like little bitches, but, you know, whatever. He said to me that if there was an object out there orbiting the sun and it was that close to the sun, then it would be lit up like a Christmas tree. You know what he told me to do? He said, go buy a welding lens and hold it up to the sun on a clear sky on a day when it's clear. And you'll see that there's nothing else up there. Well, that doesn't work, folks, especially when you're taking photographs through a welding lens. You're going to get that ghosted image that transfers back into the processor inside of the digital camera, and then you'll be getting all of those two sun photographs that everybody freaks out over when they see them on the boob tube and face puke. They're nothing more than ghosted images bouncing back into the processor in the digital camera, and it translates that into that picture. Same thing goes with the moon when it's fully illuminated and you photograph it with a digital camera. But anyways, so I'm going to pick up a welding lens. I had one. I don't know what the hell I did with it. I'm going to pick up a welding lens, and I am actually going to attach it to that $4,000 digital video camera, ultra high definition 4K. I'm going to put that sumbitch right on that camera. I'm going to point it straight up to the sun. And then I'm going to show you that, yeah, you'll see a little, a little round sphere up there, but it won't be a planet. It will just be an internal reflection bouncing back into the processor, into the digital camera. So that was the advice that a mainstream YouTube scientist gave me. Go buy a welding lens for $3. Pfft, the fuck out of here. Again, another raw image. A lot of people ask when we see these coronal mass ejections and we get a view of this object, why don't we see it continuously moving? Well, remember, these coronagraph images, they're not video. Even though you may see it in a video format, they're not actual video. These are frames, photographs, snapshots that are taken, it all depends what coronagraph, every 8, 12, 16, 24 minutes. So if an object is moving in precession and you're taking photographs every 12 minutes, and then you put all of those frames together to create a video, yeah, it's going to be a little deceptive. It's not really going to look like it's moving. And the perception, the depth perception, the distance perception, it's going to be really, really hard to perceive. So that's why catching these objects in the still photographs, in that frame, is the ticket. That's the key. Sometimes it is very, very hard to do because the frames are so far apart, the timing is so far apart, and we're using technology that is 15 to 20 years old. Some is even older than that as far as the coronagraphs and the spacecraft, the space cameras, the satellite itself. And we don't get to see all of the real raw data that gets transmitted back to Earth. I wish we did. You know, I keep sending applications into NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Goddard for employment, but they turn me down. They don't accept my applications for employment. They always tell me, oh, you're too crazy, man. You're too crazy to be a scientist. I couldn't stomach working around those people either. But again, here, same photograph, you know, just taken from different processes. And again, you can see it clear as a bell. I had one online scientist tell me that, oh, that's nothing more than a plasma ball. Plasma ball? Okay. You guys go Google plasma ball. See if you could find it. See if you can find some pictures of it. Plasma ball. See, folks, with the way Google manipulates information now, I can post this picture into Google, into the search engine, and I could label it plasma ball. I could tag it plasma ball. And then some unsuspecting novice Google's plasma ball. And that picture comes up. Yeah. That's how the internet can be manipulated. But we know that that's not a plasma ball. That's as bad as that one dude, Boogeyman, talking about buckyballs. Oh, yeah, there's buckyballs. Buckyballs up in the clouds. And look at the buckyballs in space. Pfft, yeah, there is a term, buckyballs. Buckyballs. But you're sure as hell not going to see them with the naked eye because they're microscopic. They're atoms. They're tiny. So again, you know, people take some terminology, they don't even know what the hell what it is, and they just shoot their mouth, go put it in a video, everybody fucking believes it. But yet, I show the most conclusive evidence ever seen on YouTube, ever seen on the internet. Whatever. I'm going to change the name of my channel to Buckyballs. Buckyballs. Here. Now, I worked on this photograph, converting it to the highest definition that I could possibly get it. And it took me a little while. And I've got the software to do it. And, well, there you go. What do you think? How about you folks start dropping some comments in that damn comment section there? And you let me know what you think. I mean, let's be real here, people. Let's be real with each other. I'm always real with all of you. You don't get a fake YouTube personality when you watch my live streams or any of my videos. You get Scott Raw. Maybe that's what I'll rename my YouTube channel. Raw. Do you guys think that's Nibiru? Do you think that's Nemesis? Do you WSO fans think that's Wormwood? What the hell do you think that is? Do you Boogeyman fans think that's a buckyball? Do you Gil Broussard fans think that is whatever the hell he calls it? I don't know what the hell he calls it. For you Marshall Master fans, do you think that's Nemesis, Nibiru? What the hell does he call it? What do we call this damn thing? I'm actually sick of calling it Planet X because that name is so damn tarnished. It's been out there since, oh God, back in the 1930s with famed astronomer Percival Lowell. But see, he was looking for the 10th planet. That NASA got a hold of it. There was even comic books out back in the 50s, I think. The Man from Planet X. So you see, folks, over all of these decades, you see how they have tarnished the image, tarnished the research into finding a possible object, another object, in our solar system that's not supposed to be there by all of our textbooks. But why keep it a secret? Maybe because it is detrimental to our planet in some ways. That's the big question. You know, I mean, it's the same question as why do they keep the existence of aliens away from us? We know they exist. We know that there are other forms of life out there that walk on two legs and have two arms and a big head and eyes, and maybe there are alien civilizations that look just like us. Were we the original inhabitants of this planet? I don't think so. Is the human race just an alien experiment? It's all possible. More and more intel's coming out. But why do the gatekeepers not want you to understand and realize that there is something out there, a partner to our sun? What's the big deal? I'll tell you what the big deal is. For many, many years, people did not do their homework. They did not do real investigative work trying to find this object. See, they were all out there pointing their little backyard telescopes and even observatory telescopes and looking deep into the heavens. That is like trying to find one grain of sand that fell in your carpet. Do you think you're going to find it? I doubt it. Space is still very, very mysterious. If an object is not producing any light, any visible light, then you're not going to see it with a telescope. And for all those Billy badasses out there that like to say, oh, here's my $50,000 telescope, and I'm going to put an H-alpha filter on the end of it, like Rex Bear over there at the Puke Project. He goes and buys a telescope, buys an H-alpha filter, puts it on the telescope, points it to the sun, and makes fun of, look, there's no Planet X up there. Oh, look, there's no sun simulator up there. Put an H-alpha filter on a telescope and you black out. You black out space around the sun, the disk. That's what an H-alpha filter does. Dummies. Not you guys, but the people that try to fool you. You folks really, really, really have to start understanding these YouTube personalities. They may say that they are all about the truth, but in actuality, they don't give a shit about the truth. They want to make sure that they keep your attention and they watch those YouTube views go up. Folks, look at the number of subscribers to this YouTube channel. 83,600. Look at the views of the videos. Okay? You tell me who is being censored the most on YouTube when it comes to this project. But what do you think about what is on your screen? Do you think Gil Broussard discovered this? Do you think David Meade discovered it? Do you think Marshall Masters discovered it? Do you think Steve Olson discovered it? Do you think the Boogeyman discovered it? What are they showing you? I want to deal in facts, folks. You know, I know I'm jacking around with these other guys and stuff like that. Poke fun at them. Big deal. But we're dealing with a very serious subject. And I hate when other people make a mockery of it. Because the subject matter is very serious. It's very serious for us living on this planet right now. And it is also going to become a very serious situation for your children and their children. And Lord only knows what will happen. Anything can happen at any time. We have to keep that much in the back of our minds. Let's take a zoomed in look at this. That's some pretty good definition for a buckyball or a plasma ball or some photographic anomaly. What do you guys think? Do all of you think that I have proven beyond any doubt that this object exists? I'll take the criticism. That damn thing's pretty big. I think that there are definitely some other smaller objects. Not too long ago, a few months ago, we did catch for the first time 3 of these objects clustered together, one being pretty big and the other 2 being smaller. Haven't seen much of them since. I guess it's all timing. And that swirling motion around it is amazing. And then it makes me wonder, last year when NASA blasted off the Parker space probe, heading directly out there to the sun, for the first time, all these years, now all of a sudden, they decide to send a probe all the way to the sun. Are they really examining the sun? Or do they want to keep a real close eye on this object with brand new, up-to-date technology that's all packed into that Parker space probe? That's my theory. They said they're going to crash it into the sun after they're done with it. I don't think so. Like a bunch of their other space probes that they put out there, that they were all supposed to die at a set date. when they're all still out there in full operation. Yeah. How's that story with NASA go? Never a straight answer. It's how it's been since the beginning of its organization. Never a straight answer. Yeah. Huh. Anyways. And then here we go from 2007 to 2019. Huh. I'd have to say that blows everybody else's theories out of the water. What do you think? Yeah. Maybe it's just another buckyball. Maybe it's just a plasma ball. All I know is I have the biggest database of these photo captures than anybody. And any time, any day, any of you hardcore Planet X researchers, any of you Planet X heavyweights want to go toe-to-toe with me and show your evidence, I'd be more than happy to oblige you. Just invite me. I'll be there. You can guarantee that. No doubt. Let's do something here real quick. Let's look up Mercury's transit. We'll get off the subject of Planet X here for a minute. Okay, let's check this out. Now, let me get, and we're doing this off the cuff, man. None of this is prearranged. Here's the one picture I was showing you guys. There's the little, see the little dot Mercury right there? That little dot? Like, man, it's like a grain of sand. And you got a sunspot with a comparison. And then, let me get down. I'm going to find these pictures here. Oh, here we go. Now, this is some of the crap that NASA kind of wants you to believe. And this is supposed to be Mercury in a transit. Wait a minute. I thought Mercury was 36 million miles away from the sun. How in the hell can that picture be 36 million miles away from the sun? Almost half of the distance from the Earth to the sun, which is 1 AU, 93 million miles. Well, hot damn. I wonder what that really is. Here. Mercury transit, live shots, NASA Scientific Visualization Studio. Wow. Look very carefully at that damn picture. That looks like a layover. An image laid over an image from the SDO. Same thing here. So this is supposed to be, again, the transit of Mercury in November of 2006. Take a look at the picture. Here, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just not even play around. Okay, well, there you go. Does that look like an object that would be 36 million miles away from the sun? Oh yeah, sure, the distance perception's probably pretty hard to judge. But considering that Mercury's just a little over 3,000 miles in diameter, and 36 million miles away from the sun looks pretty damn big to me. Oh, but wait a minute, Scott. Maybe it's closer to the camera on the SDO spacecraft, so therefore the perception makes it look bigger. There you go. Talking smart, sounding smart, makes it okay. Makes it fully understandable and believable. But if something was really 36 million miles away from the sun, look at that little dot. See that little puny little dot right there? That's supposed to be Mercury. That might be a given there. Yeah. Here's another one. Mercury transit, May 7th, 2003. I mean, what the hell is that? That's just like black circle in the middle of, I don't know. Looks like some pic art. There are videos. Let's make sure we get this in 4K. Produced by NASA. You see it right there? See that little teeny thing? See that little teeny thing right there? Does that look like it's 36 million miles away from the sun? Or does that look like some kind of animation? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Those are some of the mysteries of Mercury. They don't talk about Mercury all that much. And the original research that was being conducted back in the mid-1800s pertaining to this Vulcan planet, they wanted to dispel all of that. So, I mean, that just looks like some freaking animation to me. And let's touch on Vulcan. And we'll just go here to Wikipedia. Wikipedia. And you guys can go ahead and you could jump into this and read about it. Dr. Albers has delved into it. I kicked her off on this a couple of days ago, and we had very, very lengthy conversations about this. Vulcan is a small hypothetical planet that was proposed to exist in an orbit between Mercury and the Sun. Oh! Where's our Planet X object orbiting between Mercury and the Sun? Attempting to explain peculiarities of Mercury's orbit, the 19th century French mathematician Urbain LeVerrier, I'm bad with French names, Verrier, hypothesized that they were the results of another planet which he named Vulcan. And that had to do with volcanoes, volcanism. It also states a number of reputable investigators became involved in the search for Vulcan, and despite occasional claimed observations, no such planet was ever confirmed. And then it goes on and on. It talks about how this was all explained. Mercury, they're claiming it was Mercury. And it was all explained in 1915 by Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, basically talking about space is like a fabric, the fabric of space. Or Albert Einstein theory of general relativity, sorry. So after Einstein, after he put his paper out on general relativity, that kind of blew the research out for Vulcan, and this was going back into early 1800s. Now, Verrier, he wasn't the only one to observe this. There were many, many other credible scientists and astronomers in his day that visualized it through their telescopes, and they saw it. But now, even still today, they claim that it doesn't exist, it can't exist, based on Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity. That's it. Case closed. It can't exist. However, I just got done showing all of you a pretty massive object, much bigger than Vulcan, much bigger than Mercury, much bigger than the Earth, Venus, Mars, and damn Jupiter. Oh, but it was nothing but a buckyball or a plasma ball. But yet, I've been finding, locating, observing, and documenting this object for years now. But it doesn't exist. Yeah. This is very good information. I can't stand Wikipedia because people jump on Wikipedia, and I call them Google scientists. And when it comes to social media, anybody can act and seem like they're smart, because I get these bozos on Facebook all the time, and I catch them copy and pasting things from like Wikipedia into a comment or a post like it was their idea, and they're just Wikipedia Google scientists. But this does give a pretty good broad history of Vulcan. So the whole point of me bringing up Vulcan is to show all of you, many, many moons ago, a century and a half ago, very educated, not conspiracy theorists, but educated people were looking for and observed an object other than what we were taught was out there. And what did they do to Verrier? What did they do? They ostracized him. They debunked him. Then they made everybody else think that he was crazy. But then, many years later, other astronomers found it, saw it, observed it, and they were cast into the depths of hell. So my point is, here we are, all of that time, from 1840 all the way to 2019, and the story still continues. See, it's not just me. I'm not the main conspiracy theorist. Maybe Verrier was. Maybe Percival Lowell. Maybe Zachariah Sitchin. Maybe Dr. Robert Harrington. Maybe Carlos Munoz Ferrada. Oh, but we're all just conspiracy nuts. But today, I've shown all of you conclusive, hardcore, observational evidence that you were able to see with your own eyes. No fancy poster. No, I love you, man. Hardcore evidence. I think all of you should check this out. Dr. Albers is going to be doing some more in-depth research into this. And I have for many years. I've actually lost track of it because I've been tied up with a lot of other things. But, going into Vulcan, hypothetical planet, you could just Google Vulcan planet and see what comes up. There is a whole bunch of information. Some will be very critical, kind of, debunking. They will all use the idea of the orbit and precession of Mercury and its orbit. And they will all resort back to Einstein's theory of general relativity. Other than that, they ain't got shit. That's it. So there's quite a bit. There's some videos. You can create some more cloudiness in your minds. But the point that I'm trying to make, folks, there's a bunch of stuff here. The point that I'm trying to make is people, credible people, have been searching and observing things other than what we have been told. You all know that. Y'all know that. Now, I would advise all of you to open up your minds a little bit. Go check out the historic story of Vulcan. Read it all and check it out. It's very, very in depth. And the thing about it is it just didn't span a very short period in time. It spanned a long period of time. Get into the research, open up your mind, and you will see that for a long period of time, man, let's be politically correct. These men have been searching and have observed something other than what mainstream astronomy tells us is out there. Yeah. Now, let's get into, I just wrote this article up today. A lot of people are talking about what's happening in California with all of the earthquakes and this magma chamber that is under this section of California. Well, here's the thing, folks. The geologists have known about this for a little bit of time. With some newer technology over the last decade and recently, they've been able to pretty much find this magma chamber, which is a caldera. just a volcano that exploded. The ground sinks, kind of forms a caldera like Yellowstone. And people are always really quick to, I hate to use the terminology, but people are always quick to fearmonger about, whoo, Yellowstone's going to blow. Or now the Long Valley caldera in California, ooh, it's going to blow. Well, listen, folks, like I've said before, either one of those two situations occurs. Yellowstone goes off, or the Long Valley caldera goes off. You don't have anything to worry about, because in a very short amount of time, you'll be dead. So there's nothing to worry about other than living your life. Don't live in fear. Even though the subject matters that we talk about, yeah, they're scary. Yes, they could imminently end life on this planet, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, what are you, Superman? You're, Atlas, you're going to hold up the world? Hercules? No. Live your life. As we say in modern day American Italian lingo, hey man, you got to do what you got to do. So just live your life. Don't live in fear. Don't live in fear of Planet X. Don't live in fear of magma chambers. Don't live in fear of Yellowstone. Just live your life. Investigate it. Learn about it. Research it. Dig up the information on it. Knowledge is power. And again, before too long, they're going to rip that power right out from underneath you. But anyways, I wrote up a pretty good in-depth article on this. It's approximately 240 cubic miles of magma beneath California's supervolcano. Here is a general map where this caldera is. It is pretty close to the Nevada line, state line over there, and we'll go ahead and zoom in. I'll show you. We'll get a good look at it. It's a pretty good in-depth article here. It gives you all of the information that's all up to date on what's happening. It says that this line, it's been lying dormant for the past 100,000 years. It says now researchers have gotten a clearer glimpse into what lies below the Long Valley super volcano, uncovering 240 cubic miles of magma sitting beneath California. See, folks, it can sit there for another 100,000 years and do nothing but bubble. But here's the problem. This is a good example cross-section of the Long Valley caldera. And you could see after the blast 760,000 years ago, I don't even know where they come up with these figures sometimes, but you ever notice that it's always close to 1,000,000 years ago? Anyways, when it did go off, that land tends to sink. And then you see here in the cross section of the Long Valley caldera, you'll see the concealed magma. There's another magma chamber underneath. Blah, 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 blah. Well, why hasn't it done anything in the past 100,000 years? Who knows? Do the scientists know? Probably not. If they held a press conference today and they had these smart asses or these smart scientists up there talking to all of you, again, goes back to the authority figure. They would be considered the authority on the subject matter, and as long as they're sitting there and, in their press conference and they're speaking intelligently, everybody would believe them. Yeah, that's the problem with mainstream science now. Just because Tyson Neil deGrasse, the black guy that makes a mockery of astronomy, thinks he's a comedian. But, anything he says, people believe it. But see, he's a paid actor. And he will say whatever they pay him to say, and he will read the script that he was paid to read. Will this caldera go off? This isn't too far from the active zone in California right now, near Ridgecrest. Does this caldera have anything to do with all of that massive seismic activity around Ridgecrest? The possibility is pretty damn high. Earthquakes are still going off. Before I went on the air, a magnitude 4.2 kicked off there. Now, here's the problem. Because we're dealing with geology, the ground, is there a possibility that something is stirring the pot in this magma chamber? Is there a possibility that the influx of all of these heavily charged particles and cosmic rays penetrating all the way through the earth constantly, are they causing a heat buildup and a pressure buildup within that magma chamber, creating the initial earthquakes, fracturing the ground, which we know it did? We've all seen the pictures of the huge fissures going across the desert floor. So that's all that it takes to cause a caldera to become highly unstable. See, that caldera can sit there for another 1,000,000 years if you don't piss around with it. If it just stays there and Mother Nature doesn't bother it, it would stay there for 5,000,000 years. But if you start jacking around with it and you start heating it up, and all of those heavily charged particles penetrate through the ground and they get in there to that magma chamber, and those particles create heat by bouncing around. Just like CERN, they're blasting particles and smashing them together. Well, that's what happens with particles. That's what Dr. Albers' specialty was. She's a theoretical particle physicist. That was her career. And there are many, many physicists that take that path, and that's what they study. So once these particles, they get down in there, trillions of them, and they're bouncing and smashing off of each other, and each one of those collisions is producing energy and heating up and pressurizing everything within that chamber, that magma chamber. Now, we've had 2 big earthquakes in this area, so now we know that that ground has been fractured. That ground is now unstable. Will that caldera go off in this lifetime? Nobody can say. Not even the boys in green at the USGS. Not even the guy that did a video on YouTube stating that he had inside information and talked to the people at the USGS, and they told him, "Son bitch, you better get out of town. The Long Valley Caldera's going to go." Hey, look, you don't believe me? You ask Dutch Sense if the USGS would ever tell you the damn truth, or they would ever talk to some regular guy and give him that kind of information. Hell no. They would never do that. Ever. The possibilities of this caldera cracking open, it's a crapshoot, folks. Could it happen? You better believe it. What would be the mechanisms to cause it to go off? Well, I just explained that to you. Let these compressions with our magnetosphere, our magnetic field, let that continue. Let the heavily flow of electrons keep penetrating and pouncing on this planet. Let this planet continue to become more and more and more unstable. Remember, the Earth is nothing but paper-thin tectonic plates, a paper-thin shell around the mantle. And then you have the core, and that core heats up, and that mantle heats up. And we're talking about unimaginable amounts of pressure. The pressure builds. Those molecules, those electrons, those protons, those ions, they're all up in there smashing off of each other and creating that energy. And sooner or later, if this all continues, the shit will probably hit the fan somewhere. Will it be at Yellowstone? Who knows? Will it be at the Long Valley Caldera? Who knows? All I know is we got 20 volcanoes right now on our little Mother Earth that are in full eruption mode. Full eruption mode. But in a way, sometimes that's actually a good thing, because the points and the positioning of those volcanoes going off are doing what? They're actually releasing some of that internal pressure. So the volcanoes going off, not really a bad thing. You can actually find some good in that. But if anything happens out here in the Long Valley Caldera, well, just say goodbye. If anything happens at Yellowstone, just say goodbye, and it's over and done with. That's it. Game over. Hit the reset button. Is Planet X, or this object orbiting our sun, is that to blame? Well, all the evidence points to it. What do you think? Climate change just came out of nowhere in the beginning of 2019 because a few politicians decided to start talking about it? I think that's all, what's the word I want to use? Predictive programming. Meaning, like when you hear that little Puerto Rican congresswoman that I can't stand, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, telling everybody, oh, we only have 12 more years. Well, that kind of coincides with the 11-year cycle that we're currently getting ready to get into here with the grand solar minimum. 11, 12. What have I been saying for the last 6 months? But what? Now everybody's going to believe some little Puerto Rican chick from New York that, her education spans in, kindergarten artwork and being a bartender. And now, all of a sudden, she's some damn climatologist. So somebody schooled her. Somebody gave her the script. Now, they got that crackpot Bernie Sanders out there. He's saying the same thing. We only have 12 years. No, Bernie, we only got today. That's it. We are way, way, way too far, folks, into the climate change for man to do anything. Look, folks, you can stop all the factories. You could stop burning fossil fuels. You could ground every jet plane. You could stop every car. you're not going to change a damn thing. Because what they are telling people is climate change is an outright lie. And we all know that politicians do nothing but lie. I don't give a shit who they are. As much as I like Donald Trump, look, I like watching him bash people. Maybe that's why me and him are kind of alike, because I like to do the same thing sometimes. But that's the situation out there with the Long Valley Caldera and Yellowstone. Anything could happen at any time. This is a pretty good map here showing you where this 240 cubic mile magma chamber is. You could see it's just a little northeast of Fresno, California, and right near the Nevada-California line. I'll show you on Google Earth exactly where it's at. This is just another little map area showing you the Mammoth Lake region and the Caldera boundary where that ground sunk a little bit after the initial explosion. 100,000 years ago, 760,000 years ago. This is the imaging that, as technology got better, this is how the USGS and geologists were able to locate this area. And as you can see, it doesn't look like it's that big on your screen, but folks, 240 cubic miles. I know that's hard to compute because the way the human brain works, seeing helps give you the visualization in your mind of what 240 cubic miles looks like. Well, hell, I don't even know what the hell 240 cubic miles looks like. It just sounds big because it is. So that's the location. And this was the imaging that they used, and boy, they found it. And this is the cross section right here. And, you could see that this thing goes off. It is going to, let's just say, be so damn devastating that if you didn't die, you would wish that you did. Just saying. So, this magma chamber, it's been in the news. It's been known about for quite some time. But now, because of these damn earthquakes, it's starting to resonate itself, and I'll put this in the live chat. You guys can check it out. It's all on the Planet X News website if you guys want to reference this article and talk about it. I pulled all of the most up-to-date information and compiled everything together, put the article together this morning. And because, I guess a bunch of people watched, I'm not going to drop any names, but I guess somebody, a couple people watched somebody else's live stream. And, I don't know why people do that. Why do you guys do that? Why do you guys get me to watch other people's videos and then you want me to criticize them? Maybe you look to me as, okay, is this guy telling the truth or is he just blowing smoke? Well, in this case, folks, anything is possible, but I do not agree with the USGS giving some guy inside information about volcanoes going off and to get out of town, and you better watch. Just ain't buying that. And if you don't believe me, like I said, go ask Dutch Sense. You go ask him. Hey, would you believe a story like that? Would the USGS literally just give some bystander inside information? Hell no. Hell no. Because they don't even really know. They don't. I wish they would. Just ain't buying that. Anyways, let's check this out. We're going to move over here to my ultra sophisticated Google Earth. And I have my Google Earth uploaded with earthquake data and also space data. I bet you didn't know you could do that with Google Earth, did you? Scott's pretty damn smart. Anyways, what you're looking at right there, that's the geomagnetic space weather brewing on the top of the Earth. And that's all live. You can see it right here. Nice big hot zone right there. And if you pan down to the Antarctic, you can see another nice big hot zone brewing right there. So yeah, you can get you can load this data into Google Earth by using KML files, but you have to know where to get the data. And I've also loaded you could load volcanic activity in here, and it will propagate the activity. But we're going to move all the way down here. Now, these are all of the earthquakes from a magnitude 1 to whatever over the course of the last week. So as you can see, as we move in further and further to that active region in Ridgecrest, there you go. Doesn't look too good, does it? Looks pretty damn alarming, doesn't it? Well, it should be, because that is insane. I've never seen anything like that in all my years of watching earthquake activity. I've never seen anything like that, ever. And that's very, very critical. This is all starting to update now. An update is just coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and let that's going to fill in. You could see all of the earthquakes are filling in. You'll see them all start to pop on the screen. And that's all. You could see the little color graph to the left. Red is the past hour, orange is the past day, yellow is the past week. So this just put all of that information back in there. And there was just a magnitude. Yeah, that's still loading. Oh my God. Yeah, I could see the little thing still loading down there. But yeah, once you pan back, that kind of disappears. But you could get the fresh earthquakes will be on here. You just have to zoom all the way in to find them. Like this little teeny one right here. I'd have to zoom in all the way to get it. But they're still loading. That's crazy, huh? I mean, that's just insane to see all those earthquakes, like one every couple of minutes. Boom, 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 boom. I couldn't even imagine living in this area. I would have moved already. Regardless. So whenever you hover over, it will give you the information on the earthquake. And this magnitude 4.1, if you zoom in a little further, you can click on it. Come on. Well, there's two of them there. That's why and it will give you a little pop-up. And it will tell you magnitude 4.1. That just went off before I went on the air. Give you the date. And you can actually put a marker there, and it will show you the shake zone. And then you can click here, and you can go right to a USGS setup, and it will give you more further information, and it will give you that 4.2. That area that you see in the purples and the blues, and then on down to the green, and then straight to the epicenter, that gives you the zone of where people felt the shake of the earthquake. Pretty cool. But let's go check out this caldera, the Long Valley Caldera. Let's find Fresno, and if we take Fresno, California, right there, and we start to move up here in this area, you see all these little earthquakes popping right here. Those are from the past week. So that means that there is seismic activity spreading north. If you remember my live stream from maybe about a week or two, probably about 2 weeks ago, I had mentioned how the earthquakes down here in Ridgecrest, that they were moving right up here through that valley between those mountains. See that valley that was cut out right there? Now, that scar right there between these two mountain lines of mountains, that to me, and I'm not a geologist, but that looks to me like somewhere in the past, like the scientists say, probably 650,000 years ago, that mountain range split. Something occurred there. When? Who the hell knows? Does it matter at this point in time? No, it does not. But it looks like something happened here, because those two mountain ranges, if you moved them together, they would fit together like two pieces of a puzzle. So that means at one point in time, maybe those mountain ranges were one, and something occurred and they split apart. It created that valley there. That valley going up through here, straight through here, and you see all where the earthquakes are down here in Ridgecrest. They've been steadily making their way up, 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 and now we're showing activity right up here where the caldera, we're getting close to it, which is right up here. So that is probably the mouth of this caldera. This is like a touristy place. A lot of people go out there, camping and, hiking and trudging through this area. I mean, you can see how desolate it is. But that is the area right there. And this caldera is pretty damn big. And you can see, just by looking at the lay of the land, all of this was desolate. It's just a desolate section of the United States. All of this area, let me pan back here. Picture this. Just picture this, okay? You have Yellowstone way up here, okay? Look at this. Look at this land. It's all just desolate. It's just completely destroyed. It's like desert. What formed that section of the United States? That was probably due to the last blast of Yellowstone. And it literally just destroyed all of that land. when, like the scientists say, 650,000 years ago, or, a million years ago. I don't know where they come up with these time frames, but they do. But I think that this is definitely how this section of the United States was formed, destroyed actually, because it's nothing but arid desert wasteland. I mean, you just really can't do nothing with this area. But you could already see there's huge cracks and fissures all over, possibly rivers flowing down into here, into this lake. That lake doesn't even look like it's something you'd want to swim in. But I know people go out there, and it's a big touristy area, very, very popular, hiking, all-terrain vehicles, stuff like that. And they do have seismic activity that pops off here all the time. All the time. So, I mean, that's what a lot of people have been squawking about with the Long Valley caldera and the situation brewing down here still in the Ridgecrest area. Let's see if we could zoom all the way down to their city. Where the hell is Ridgecrest? We'll just type it in. Ridgecrest, California. Oh, it's further south. Oh, here come the earthquakes now. They're all starting to fill in. There are so many earthquakes that I loaded the whole entire file of earthquakes for this area when I pulled it up. I did it right when I was showing you guys. I loaded the two files for the space weather and the earthquakes. I'm looking over at the little wheel at the bottom of my corner of my screen. It's still loading. It's about 2/3 of the way loading the updated earthquakes. I think Mr. MBB did a video last week, and the count on the earthquake activity, I believe it was 10 or 11,000. It could possibly be up to 12,000 or higher. So you could see these earthquakes, they're still starting to show up. And these are all past quakes. But it just goes to show you, look at that. It will probably take 15, 20 minutes for all of these to fill in. And they'll fill in right here on your screen. They're going to just keep on appearing. No, these aren't earthquakes that are currently happening. It's just pulling all of the data from that file and loading it. But this area, man, I'll tell you what. I think that the report that this guy was talking about had something to do with this China Lake area, where he was saying that the USGS gave him secret information. You better get out of here. This volcano and this magma chamber is going to blow. I doubt that very, 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 very highly that they would just give any common, everyday, run-of-the-mill guy that information. But it is crazy what is happening here in this part of California. See, these earthquakes that you see here, they have already stretched all the way up here. They're moving this way. And it would probably take, I don't know, that little dial's about 2/3 of the way loading the earthquakes. I actually had this set up, but I got a strong computer too, and it was all of the data was bogging. My CPU usage was up to 98%, And whenever I use my screen sharing software to do a live stream, that pulls a lot of CPU power also, and I didn't want to have a problem with my live stream. So I exited out of this, and it's still, it's still loading. So yeah, there is a very, very serious situation in this section of the United States. I wouldn't want to live there right now. I mean, I could tell you that right now. I would not want to live there. I wouldn't want to be anywhere. I would not want to be anywhere around that area. Because, folks, anything can happen at any time. And here's the thing, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the month. And when we get closer to the end of the month, we're going to have some interactions with this stellar core object. And we may see quite a bit of seismic activity start to pop off. This is just a little video that I put together yesterday. I was actually going to do this live stream yesterday, but I got caught up in reading more and more about this planet Vulcan. But these were the photographs that I showed you from 2007. I put these photographs together with the actual video from the Core 2 showing this object orbiting around the sun. And that back orbit took about 7 days. Yeah, 7 days. So it shows you that the object does move very, very rapidly. And that was all the way back in 2007. Now, I believe, I can't prove it, but I believe that in that time frame between 2007 and approximately 2015 or 16, that this object's orbit started to shrink because the sun was pulling it in, and it is now set in this 28-day orbit around the sun. So its orbit has shrunk, and I mean, that's kind of like how all of our planets ended up in the orbits and the positions that they are in. So this is just going to give you the same pictures that I showed you earlier, but towards the end of this, you're going to see that video that was leaked to me by the New York Times investigative reporter. She leaked that to me in 2016. And I was told it was the moon by one crank amateur astronomer that wanted me to believe it was the moon. So here you go. Check it out. Stereo B Core 2, February 23rd, 2007. Oh, nothing to see here, folks. That's just the moon that belongs to the Earth. Yeah. Sure it is. You see, folks, just because somebody has a fancy title, they're a scientist, like I said in the beginning of this live stream, just because somebody has this authoritative title or they're an authoritative figure, all too many times we take everything that they say as being the absolute truth, or you get my point. But people can deceive you in authoritative positions. Now you can see this object does create as it's coming in. You can see the sun react by a small CME. Then watch as it passes behind the sun, and you'll see more illumination, more reaction by the sun. Because if anything like that passed by the sun, the sun's going to react. You're talking about two very strong magnetic fields coming very, very close to each other. And yes, they are going to interact and they are going to react. I just have this in slow motion so you guys can see it clearly. This is all the same object. This is on the core 1, stereo B. And remember, in 2014, they took stereo B out of commission. They planted the story out there in the media that they lost control of stereo B because there's stereo A, stereo B, one on each side. Okay? Two spacecrafts launched identical. They said the spacecraft went into a calibration roll and they lost communication with it. That is a lie. They knew that this spacecraft being behind the sun and stereo A being, well, one's to the left, one's to the right. But stereo B would give us absolutely big time proof of what is moving around the sun. Wow. We would be able to get views of that damn thing almost every day. So what do? You take away that tool. Yeah. What do you think? That's Mercury. The little white circle in the middle of the occulter, that's pretty close to the size of the sun. The big black disk is just an occulter. That's inside of the camera to block out the intense light from the sun, and that way you can see better. Now you can see how fast the object moves. What you're seeing here as it does pass behind the sun, you're looking at about, I think it's about 7 days. So the object is moving very, very rapidly. You could see the time counter at the bottom. So I think it starts out, on the 20th or the 21st? And then by the time it exits out the back, you're looking at the 28th. So about 7 days. And then it disappears out of the view of the camera and the spacecraft. Now this is a little bit different because this is core 1. This is more of a zoomed in, so it comes into the view of the camera on the 23rd. Why? Because it's zoomed in closer than the core 1 stereo B, the red view that we just saw. But you'll see the sun react. I have it in slow motion, but you'll see the sun react to this object. And just like that one crackpot said, oh, it's the moon. It's the Earth's moon. Okay, what? The Earth's moon left its orbit around the Earth, traveled 93 million miles to the sun, looped around the sun, and then came back into its position orbiting the Earth. Wow. Maybe that's what they mean by supermoon. Seeing people, they just, they want you to believe whatever. Pretty spectacular, isn't it? Now you see how the screen blackened out? And that was the interaction of that object passing behind the sun, very, very close, within the sun's corona, and it caused that reaction. Dr. Albers and I were going back and forth 2 days ago, and we were poring over this video footage and the recent capture on the 19th of July of this year. And the big question that always comes up is, how close is this object to the sun? That's where everything came into play with Mercury. Mercury being 36 million miles away from the sun. 36 million miles away from the sun. So Mercury is not right up against the sun, folks. It's very, very far from the sun. This object, however, is very close to the sun. And it's literally almost impossible to judge how close it is. But at its closest point, we calculated that it's at least, or it gets at least between 500,000 and 600,000 miles away from the sun. That's pretty close. That distance may be less. I don't think it's greater. But after it leaves that orbit, after it arcs around, it goes downward and it goes below the ecliptic. And that's when we lose it. And then it comes right back up. When it comes right back up, we will see those coronal mass ejections on the western limb of the sun to the right. When it passes by on the eastern limb of the sun, like you see on your screen now, it creates the coronal mass ejection. So at those 2 points on the eastern and western limb of the sun, those are pretty close to the closest points when this object loops around and interacts with the sun. What do we see? Coronal mass ejection, west limb. Coronal mass ejection, east limb. There's your science, baby. Rock solid. But anyways, folks, I wanted to share these photographs with you, and I mean, I would like to see each and every one of you start to maybe get on the same page. Look, I mean, here I go into criticizing others, but I just can't help it, because nobody else is showing you folks the really hardcore evidence. They're not giving you answers to your questions. Maybe they're just showing you little picture shows and drawings with crayons. I mean, that's absurd. Drawing shit with crayons on construction paper is not science or evidence. What you're seeing here today is the most conclusive, hardcore shit you could find. That gets me frustrated. It does jack my blood pressure up. I mean, if I were to draw a picture with some Crayola, and I told you, here you go, folks. Here's your evidence. Here, look, I used blue crayon for this planet. I used red crayon for this planet, and green for this planet, and I named them really weird names, and I want you to believe this. Yeah. I mean, you people would come down on me so hard, you would laugh at me. But yet, you have a guy out there that's doing that. That's drawing with crayon. And I have some of my subscribers telling me to check it out. I've already had conversations with Sam Hoffman on the phone. He's very arrogant, worse than me. He has an unbelievable story that I didn't believe. He was like, I'll have my guy email you my pictures. And I'm like, What pictures? You talking about those, your little arts and crafts, your little crayon pictures on construction paper. Nah, sorry. Ain't happening. But yet, Gil Broussard can go to the printer and have fancy posters printed up of some biblical prophecy timeline, no evidence, just artwork, and you people believe it. Because he looks credible and he sounds credible. Because he's got that authoritative persona. Maybe I ought to try that. Maybe I'll just go, get me a little white lab coat, and I'll get some geeky glasses, and I'll put some tape in the middle, and I'll speak more like a scientist, and I'll get me some arts and crafts going, and maybe you guys will believe me. But I let my work, I let the observational evidence speak for itself. Yeah, and I know a lot of you guys don't like my personality. You don't like the way that I go about things. But deep down inside, you know damn well when you want to see real hardcore evidence of this object, you want to know what's happening to this planet, and you want to know why. You're always going to come here. YouTube may not let you. They may not notify you. But all I would say, folks, is if you're not getting notifications from the boob tube, just stop by Planet X News once a day. Check out to see if there's any new live streams. Join our Facebook group and follow the Planet X News Facebook page. All the links to everything is right below in the description box under the video. And I've been really busy at my shop. Spring and summer is a very, very big time for me, and I've just been putting in, a lot of hours, and but things start to slow down a bit and get back to normal around September. So I'm looking to do some pretty wild things this upcoming fall, probably around the beginning of October. I may just go balls to the walls, man. Look at that. Incredible. Incredible. But anyways, folks. Oh, check out the magnetopause here real quick. I recorded this yesterday morning. And I put this in real slow motion, and this is just showing you, once again, we have these really bad contortions, compressions going on with the magnetopause, our magnetic field. This is going to continue. This is going to continue all the way through till probably November. Why? I explained that last week and the week before, and it's because of the Earth is now orbiting in its second 180 degrees around the sun. At that point, we are actually getting a little closer to this object as it orbits. There are several points in Earth's orbit and this object's orbit where we get a little closer to it. It's kind of hard to explain. I did, make a little chart, a graph for it, but it's, you need something that's three-dimensional to actually show you and help your mind understand it. But this what you're seeing here, you guys will probably get bored with seeing people doing videos, showing these compressions day after day after day after day. So from the end of June, the end of May, June, July, August, September, October, this is what we're going to see. It's going to be nonstop. This was also, I put this together the other day, posted it in our group, and once again, using my little new technique with the SDO, you're able to see all of the coronal hole openings and all of the little white dots that are flashing now. So you can't see this on the regular SDO. This is something that I created for you guys to see inside under the sun's atmosphere, and all of those heavily charged particles just erupting underneath the outer atmosphere of the sun. And everywhere where you see those little white dots, that is solar wind being ejected outward towards the Earth, because this view from the SDO is the view of the Earth. Now, the solar wind has been very, 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 very light. Nothing that would cause those compressions that you just saw on the magnetopause model. What is causing it, again, it's a very, very heavy influx of electrons. But, it's not being spewed all directly from the sun. Let me go ahead and back out of here. I know I took a clip of that electron spike yesterday. Come on. There you go. So here you go between July 22nd, July 23rd. Now, even though the spike's going downwards, that means the increase. So this is from the GOES satellite. This is the electron flux, and you can clearly see that coordinating that data with what we see on the magnetopause, that's where that energy's coming. That's why all those fluctuations are continuing to occur. When you see those waves coming in, those red waves, and they're impacting the bow shock, no, they are not the 5 waves of energy from Mike from around the world and Pastor Paul Begley. They're heavy flows of these electrons bashing right into the bow shock of our magnetosphere, our magnetopause. The evidence all proves it. The evidence all points straight to it. And again, this is going to continue to occur all the way till probably about November. Around November, we are going to be coming very, 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 very close to ending the second 180 degrees around the sun in our orbit. So a circle is 360 degrees. Half of the circle is 180. January through June, that's your first 180. July through December, that's your second 180. So right now, we are about a third of the way around that second 180 degrees, and that's when we kind of get a little closer. We actually kind of get into this shooting range with the sun and this object. And it's just not my theory either. This has already been well documented now since 2016, 17, 18, and now 2019, folks. So we now have 4 years of data, 4 years of this happening in this time frame. Okay? So once again, that is proving everything that I'm saying. So once we get to November, we could probably start to see a decrease in seismic activity and volcanic activity. It may go down slightly, however, and we will probably see less compressions and impacts to our magnetic field. However, we are going further into this solar minimum, meaning the Earth's interaction with the sun and the sun's magnetic field. As the sun's magnetic field decreases during a solar minimum, so does the Earth's magnetic field. So this November and December are kind of up in the air. I don't know what's actually going to happen. We may see that downscale of activity. We may not, because of the solar minimum, but we'll see. And we need that data. We need to see things happen. If we don't have things happen, then we don't have data to go by and to put together to understand what's happening. And I'm going to say this right now. Mark my words. Here we go. July 23rd, 2019. I'm telling you folks right now, when this winter time comes around in the northern hemisphere, I'm telling you folks right now that live in the Midwest, all the way down to Texas. I'm talking the whole middle section of the United States and the European countries, all of the European countries. You guys better be prepared. You better be prepared. I'm not playing around. You think last winter was bad. Baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. And it's just a few months away. And you are going to see a very drastic change in the weather. For those folks that are going to be in that section of the middle of the United States, that's all going to be caused by the jet stream making another massive change very rapidly. And when that massive change happens in that jet stream, look out. We're going to see huge troughs coming down, looping back up. And that is going to pull all of that Arctic air, once again, right down through Canada, right into the United States. And then we're going to see that warmer influx of air come up over Mexico, partially over Texas, and it's going to just smash right together in the middle of the United States, and we are going to see a winter time like you've never seen before. And it's going to be bad. We could even see this upcoming winter, winter cyclones, like we did this past winter in the middle of the United States. Remember that storm in the middle of the United States? It looked like a massive cyclone. It encompassed almost 70% of the entire United States. Massive amounts of snow, horrible temperatures, sleet, hail, freezing rain, ice, you name it. And then all of the folks that were in the high side of that trough, over towards the south and the east, we had some rain, some wind, very little snow. The temperatures weren't too bad. So that's going to be caused by that real crazy trough that's going to continue, and that is going to be how things pan out. And that is going to jump on us very, very rapidly for some people. Some people, not all. And then it's going to make its way right across over into Europe. And once it does that, there's going to be hell to pay, because once again, people are not going to be prepared. They're not getting the information that I put out and others put out that's credible information, trying to warn people or educate them on what is exactly happening, what to be prepared for, what kind of timeline that you should be looking at. But this is what I mean real quick. That trough, whenever we start to get to that wintertime mode, the jet stream has now moved real far up here, way far up here. So all of those crazy flooding storms that were just plaguing the middle part of the United States, that's over. Okay, that's done. Give the farmers the time to dry the hell out before they get pulverized this upcoming winter. But the trough that I'm talking about, you will see it come down like this. And this will be your low pressure. And that's going to bring in all of that cold air. And we're going to see the same damn pattern. And this will be your high here. Everybody, once again, in this section will have kind of a moderate winter. But everybody that's in that trough, which makes up a good 2/3 of the United States, they are going to get hammered once again. There's no doubt about it, folks. That is the way that the patterns are setting up. And if you live in any of those states, man, be prepared. Take the time. Utilize, if you have a little bit of money, to buy certain things, just to be prepared. We may get into these situations again where, we're having power outages. The heat wave caused serious situations with power outages. The winter storms are going to do the same thing. So being prepared constantly from now on has to be in your game plan. If not, you have a very, very high chance of something bad happening to you or your family. And I know you don't want that to happen. So, be on the lookout. Oops. I didn't want to draw that line. One thing I do want to talk about quickly before I end the live stream here. I know you guys are probably all falling asleep. Break this out here. Now that jet stream has lifted, if you look way over here, come on, let's get over to Africa. If you look over here, it's the western coast of Africa. This is where all the Atlantic hurricanes tend to come from. We're getting into that time of year. The jet stream has lifted for now. That is going to allow these formations of storms to start moving across the Atlantic. The ocean temperatures are pretty damn high. You can see by all these red zones here, those are pretty powerful storms. And you could see way over here, way on the right-hand side, you could already see that shit's starting to brew on that western tip of Africa. And you could already see they're starting to form those lines of storms. At any given time, anything out there could start to erupt. We're almost at the end of July. And I mentioned we'll have an active season in the beginning, Gulf of Mexico. That went down. Here we go. So we may see things erupt way down here in the Caribbean. We may see things start to erupt out in the Atlantic. It's going to be a little bit of a crapshoot. But when it does happen, it's going to be one after the other. One invest after another. They could all turn into hurricanes. It's just a matter of how it all goes down. I think it might be a moderate hurricane season in the Atlantic. I sure as hell hope so, but anything could happen. There was a pretty big storm that popped up right here off the coast of Florida yesterday. This whole entire area was just one big red zone. And because you see this air pattern right here, it caused it to suck it right up, and it dismantled it, thank God. Because that'd have been one Billy Badass storm to it would have covered about probably half of the state of Florida, the whole lower part of the peninsula. Just real quick, we'll take a look at the jet stream. I'll show you guys what I was talking about. Okay, you can see how the jet stream has lifted very, very high, way back up into Canada. It's dipping down. We'll zoom in a little bit more here. It's dipping down through over top of Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan. And listen, man, they had some horrible weather. Big power outages throughout all of that region. That's going to change. Give it a little bit of time. It will change. We had storm systems that moved over my neck of the woods here in Pittsburgh. Listen, yesterday, the day before yesterday, was a normal day. We were suffering from that heat wave. It was about 100 degrees here. And then about 6, 7 o'clock, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the sky just started rumbling, and I mean massive downpours of rain. I mean massive. Floods everywhere around the Pittsburgh region. All 4 counties, instantaneously. I had all kinds of friends buzzing me. Oh, my basement's flooded. Oh, I got 6 inches, 8 inches of water. Listen, the floods came so fast, the flash flooding, that it just smashed cars all up in the piles of metal all over the Pittsburgh area, all 4 counties. Really bad. There was one section 2 miles away from me. I'm not in a flood area because I'm not stupid like that. I'm little elevated and about 5 miles away from that crap. But about 3 miles away from me, woo! It's one small community. Forget about it. In 20 minutes, the water was up to the window level on the cars. Yeah. And it was rushing so bad that it was flipping cars over. There's pictures on the Pittsburgh news stations. Oh my God. Just absolutely insane. And yes, a bunch of rescues. I got a bunch of friends of mine that are firemen and emergency medical workers, paramedics, and, you know, they're like, what are these people thinking, man? They know the lay of the land, and they're driving down the road, and they're coming down a small grade, and they see that a massive lake has formed, and they drive their little car in it. It happens. So, if you see these flooded roads, folks, turn around. All through the night, massive downpours. I mean massive. Going into the early morning, that continued, and then it washed out. Now, that huge heat wave that we had, that washed out with it also, and we're going to have moderate temperatures in the mid-70s for about the next 5 days. So you can see, no matter where you're at on this planet, there is going to be some kind of craziness with weather. You can see temperatures. Here, let's just advance a little bit. We're just advancing. I'm at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon for today. Let's take a look temperature-wise right there. That looks like a real hot spot right there. 104 degrees right there. 104.1. 107.3. What is that, Death Valley? Real hot points, 105.9. So all up through Central California, the little further north you go, it gets a little bit cooler, but not much. But this area right here, 108. Woo! Hell no. I don't know why people want to live there. That's crazy. Arizona, Mexico, 103. Now, like some smart asses say, oh, well, it's summertime, Scott. Ain't it supposed to be hot? Oh, my God. Yeah, buddy, it's supposed to be hot. You're right. Inspector Gadget. Yeah, you're right. But, my neck of the woods here, you'll see 71.8 degrees. All through the Northeast, down in the Carolinas, they're going to have a little bit of a nice, hey, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Today, 64 degrees. So a little bit of a cool spell, a little cooling off period for this whole entire area that had that heat wave. Very, very well deserved. But there will be sections of the world up here that are going to be just absolutely blasting. And naturally, this area of Africa, 105.3 degrees, 5 o'clock in the afternoon today. And that's where those storms start to come off. They pick up all of that hot air. The airflow takes it out just over the water. And then bingo. Those storms start to erupt. And what do? You could already see the air currents. They're going to start pulling. And this is something that you have to watch when you want to try to figure out where a hurricane is going to go, where the storm or an invest is going to go. Start watching these wind patterns, and you'll see. So right now, as you look at these air patterns, you have some pulling down this way, some moving up this way, but those two types of air patterns like that, it's not going to allow any hurricane formation to form because it's going to shear it apart. But that wind pattern that you see on your screen is going to change. It's going to change, and it could literally change in a 24 to 48 hour period, and then let something erupt off of the coast of Africa, get out there into that warm water, and then if it makes it out far enough, you see the wind patterns here? What's it doing? It's scooping it up. It's bringing it right into the U.S. Virgin Islands, and then what do you have right here? You see how that wind pattern? Look where it's bringing it. Straight over the Bahamas possibly even impacting the state of Florida. But that's all hypothetical. There's no storm out there. But I'm just trying to show you how these wind patterns create the direction of these storms. But right now, again, just like I was saying, looking at this, anything that comes off of Africa right now is going to be sheared apart. So we don't have to worry about hurricane formation out there right now. Maybe in a week from now, maybe in 2 weeks from now, who knows? But it's not looking too good for hurricane formation. But getting down in here, that's a little bit of a different story, because you have warm air pulling up here. All that warm air pulling up here. There's a nice little vortex formation spinning right there off the coast of Mexico. Very, very weird air patterns. A lot of this is going to continue. But we do have the possibility of very strong storm formations to occur right out here. They could easily be sucked back over the lower part of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, and get back up into the Gulf. All hell breaks loose. New ball game there. So things are going to be very, very unpredictable. Period. That's all I can say, folks. You know, you have to watch your weather. Try to get good updates. Look, if you really want a good weather update, BP Earthwatch is always on top of this. I stay on top of it whenever I see the activity starting to brew. I'm not going to do a weather update every single day because you guys get bored with it. You get desensitized to it. And then when there is an issue, you're like, oh, that's nothing. And then all hell breaks loose. But I keep an eye on the weather. I analyze the weather around the world every single day. And if I see something, pretty nasty happening, believe me, you will be the first to know. Let's see how cold it is at the very top of the earth. 32.3 degrees, just slightly above freezing. And they've had some really, really warm temperatures in Alaska. Look at that. 80 freaking degrees, man. 81.5, Alaska. Everybody in Alaska is going to have a freaking suntan. No more calling them Eskimos, huh? Yep. But anyways, folks, check out and do some research and some reading about Vulcan. I think that all of you will find it very, very interesting. I hope that I was able to help a lot of you out today with the Nibiru stuff and the Nemesis stuff and the Wormwood stuff. Just so you all realize that, whenever you're talking about these subjects and you want people to believe you, you're going to have more than some crayon drawings and a good spiel, at least for me. You got to have that concrete evidence, man. You got to have that hardcore observational evidence. Or else, everything you say may sound smart, you may sound educated, but in all actuality, it's nothing but smoke and mirrors, baby. But anyways, folks, once again, be very, very mindful of your weather. Don't drive down those flooded roads. Keep your eye on your local weather. If you can get those weather apps for your cell phone, set them up, utilize them. And, naturally, if I see anything forming, you definitely get the information from me. Like I said, BP Earthwatch, Mr. MBB, they both do fantastic weather work. And we'll go from there. I'd like to give a big shout out to Mark over at the Blue Kool-Aid channel. Mark's been doing some fantastic work his last couple of videos. You guys should definitely make sure that you're subscribed to Mark's channel. He's become a very, very good friend. I enjoy talking with him. We bounce a lot of ideas off of each other. And I could clearly see that his mind is now becoming very, very enlightened. He's starting to really, really, really understand all of these things. And he's become a very, very big help to me, because I could bounce things off of him. He could bounce things off of me. And we kind of brainstorm on some things. And he's been a huge help. Huge help. He's a really nice guy, too. And I like the way he ends his videos. You could drink this here Kool-Aid. But Mark's a good guy. He's a good guy. But that's all I have for you folks. I hope that I hope your minds are completely engulfed with what I showed all of you here today. And I hope it answered a lot of questions that a lot of you may have had. I'd like to see more and more of you join our Facebook group on Facebook, on FacePuke. The link's in the description box. You could join our Facebook group, and there's a lot of pretty good information in there. There are some people that post some nonsense, unrelated. I'm going to start deleting that crap that's really not related to any of our subject matter. But it's a pretty good source of information, and we talk about some UFOs and the weather, and whatever information we could gather on my subject matter here. And other than that, it's pretty cool. Everybody gets along. I think it's a good information source. You could post some of your pictures. Show me some of your lens flare pictures. And I'll help you, learn a little bit more about this photographing the sun stuff. And not to make fun of anybody, but everybody has to learn. So just keep a very watchful eye, folks. I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Do me a favor. Share it. Share it on social media so I can piss Facebook off just a little bit more. And then we'll go from there. But anyways, folks, once again, be careful out there with this weather. Don't overexert yourself out there if you're undergoing parts of this heat wave that's still lingering around. Common sense. Anyways, this is Scott from Planet X News. I'm out of here. Be safe, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.